Minnesota, Minnesota, Minnesota. That is the theme of today's news discussion this week. Thank you guys very much for joining in. I appreciate you coming back, and welcome back to the channel. This is Cut to the Chase with me, Chase, and there has been a lot going on up in the Great Lakes area, so let's get into it. I know you all have probably been paying attention somewhat, or even if you haven't been paying attention, you have surely had someone bring headlines to you about the horrible ice raids going on way up north. And it has been a lot to take in. So let's kind of do a quick recap here. So from what I understand, what's going on right now is called Operation I almost said Operation Just Cause. That's something way different. Operation Metro Surge. There we go. Sorry, I had to refer to my notes here. And I guess this actually goes back into December, but it seems that we have Nick Shirley to thank, acting as an independent journalist that was in the area. I don't know if he's from that area or not, but he decided to look into something fishy going on with some of these different businesses that didn't quite seem to be what they were claiming to be, daycares and healthcare and whatnot. And so he started going up and knocking on doors, and he's just not connected to anybody. He's just a dude with a phone and a YouTube channel and bigger balls than my own. So he goes up to these daycares, starts knocking on the door and finding out that there are not any children there during operating hours. And he notices a pattern as he begins to find this. But, well, these daycares, among other types of businesses, are all connected to government funding, federal funding, in fact. So they are getting what they estimate anywhere to be between like 8 or 9, potentially as high as $8 or $9 billion, if not more, who knows, that have been utterly wasted on all this fraud throughout the Twin City area of St. Paul and Minneapolis, and began an entire firestorm that has gotten other people inspired to conduct similar searches all over the nation. So now we're not just seeing reports coming out of Minnesota, but also in places like Columbus, Ohio, all over California, Seattle, Washington, and some red states as well. I mean, it's everywhere. So this has provoked a massive response. And meanwhile, the left tries to deflect and act like this is just because we're racist and picking on the Somalis. Well, they just happen to be the main group in charge of the different businesses that Nick was checking out. He has, I believe, since announced plans to go elsewhere and continue the search in different states even. But that has provoked, among other things, a heavy increase of immigration enforcement personnel on the ground. So this Operation Metro Surge, which originally was something like 100 ICE agents or something like that to the area, changed quickly to a deployment of 2,000 Homeland Security personnel made up of not just ICE, but also Border Patrol, Customs and Border Protection, I'm sure just some general Homeland Security personnel. Well, so they started massing in the area in early January. And a couple days after they came into the neighborhood, there was a young woman, not so young woman, whatever, who got into, let's just say, got into an altercation with a couple of ICE agents and was impeding traffic, had parked her car directly across the street, and after her and her wife were kind of trading friendly jabs, not really so much trading, they were just kind of being a nuisance. And when they began to receive orders to step out of the vehicle, her wife began to tell her, "Drive, baby, drive." So she reverses and begins to drive forward into an ICE agent as she is trying to leave, and has created this firestorm of a reaction because I'm sure you all know that that agent was hit, and he fired his weapon in response and killed her. So I'm not sitting here trying to celebrate that. I think it's horrible that someone gets so spun up with all this, because I am someone who views what's going on as legitimate law enforcement. We would not even be in this situation were it not for the last 4 years. It obviously goes way beyond that. But the bulk of this massive people that have come into our country illegally have been over the course of the last 4 years, where we have essentially had an open border under the Biden administration. So the reason this causes such a huge emotional reaction all the time is because even though previous presidents have reportedly high numbers of deportations, at least for their time, most of those deportations were actually just turnarounds at the border. So people were trying to get into the country, probably through a legitimate means, or probably through the actual port of entry, and they were just turned away for whatever reason. Just said, hey, no, sorry, you can't come in. And they would count that as a deportation in a lot of these reports that are saying like, oh, Obama was the deporter in chief. No, he wasn't, because this is the most internal enforcement we have ever seen from ICE and similar agencies. So they are crisscrossing the country right now, trying to find the millions of people. And I know that number changes all the time. On the low end, it's probably something like 8 to 9 million. Even if it's only that is a massive problem, because these people are creating a huge upset in our nation, a huge strain on our resources, because many of these people go into these states and cities and begin to consume resources. They begin to get in touch with these different organizations that funnel taxpayer funds to help support them, even though they have broken our laws to enter this country illegally. And even if they do start becoming productive members of society, more or less, they still consume enough resources that they are a net negative on our economy. And it's about a lot more than GDP here, a lot more than just, making the numbers go up. But they are a net negative to the tune of like $100 to $150 billion lost every year, trying to support these people who shouldn't be here to begin with. And then a lot of them commit additional crimes after being here. So you see a lot of people, anything from DUIs. Some of them are just thugs. So they come here, they are connected to gangs or, whatever bad actors, and they continue that activity here and hurt people and steal things and even take lives. And so I am someone who definitely sees this strong reaction from ICE as legitimate. And are there instances, I think there are examples where, whether it's the marketing campaign, not the marketing, but like the social media campaign can probably tone it down a little bit. They may need to, I think unfortunately they need to do a little better about playing the PR game here, because there have definitely been instances where they've been made to kind of look bad, but it was always going to be ugly. People just do not have the stomach for this kind of thing, but it needs to be done. And okay, if children are getting deported, that's part of it. If I break the law and get sent to jail, I will be separated from my child. That's called being a criminal. So I'm not saying I want these families to suffer, and we're not shipping them off to freaking concentration camps to work in the mines until they expire, or to just, exterminate them outright. We're trying to send them home. And there are incentive programs in place that has recently been increased from $1,000 to $3,000 if you will deport yourself, if you will accept the government-provided airplane ticket home, and then you will get your $3,000 in the mail as a thank you for finally doing the right thing. Well, the people that you're seeing being rounded up have rejected that offer and have decided to try to remain in this country for whatever reason. And so now we have to go and get them. And many people on the left have decided that they don't like that very much. And when you have the incident with Renee Good come into play, it's just a match that lit the powder keg. So now we have what began as vigils have quickly erupted into mass protests, and not just in Minneapolis and St. Paul, But also there have been borderline riots, and something that I am getting really sick of seeing is a lot of these people are running down ICE agents, and they are following them all over the city and blaring their horns and blowing their whistles and getting in their way and harassing them and calling them every horrible thing in the book, because they are enforcing the law. And if you think ICE is an illegitimate organization, a little quick history for you. ICE was created officially formed in 2003, but it was created out of the Homeland Security Act in 2002. That's when it came into existence, and it was given the mission, as its name implies, to enforce our immigration laws. And it has been doing so for over 20 years now. One of the things that the Trump campaign ran on, one of the first items on the list, was mass deportations, because there's been a huge amount of stress put on the American government, the American resources, the American taxpayer, most of all, to support these people that are already breaking the laws, being here to begin with. And they oftentimes don't do anything to assimilate whatsoever. They keep speaking their own languages. They live in their own communities. And people are trying to get them amnesty. And actually what's happening oftentimes is, as these people are going into these particularly blue states and cities, they are increasing the population, which is setting the stage for the left to gain additional power, gain additional seats in Congress, among other things. Obviously they want to grant them amnesty, and Chuck Schumer has admitted as much on air. Chuck freaking Schumer, the Senate minority leader for the Democrats, has admitted that it is in fact their plan to grant amnesty to all of the illegal immigrants currently in this country. Which, if they're the ones to do that, guess which party they're going to vote for? This is all different things that are going to combine to effectively create a one-party system here in the United States for the foreseeable future, where they have a new imported voter base, this thing that has been maligned as this conspiracy theory for who knows how many years now. But now you have Democratic politicians openly admitting that that is in fact the plan. They're not hiding it anymore. So anyways, back to Minnesota. So these people are now picking fights with ICE officers, and people are starting to walk around with guns out in the open and whatever, man. That's, I guess, your constitutional right. But they are people all over the internet. Probably a lot of the people that were celebrating what happened to Charlie Kirk are now calling for violence and the murder and the doxing of ICE agents. And there's so much going on right now. So the things in my mind that I've seen coming out of Minnesota. So obviously video after video of them running down, and a lot of these people are getting arrested, but who knows how effective that's been. And this is all just the federal government doing this, because Mayor Jacob Frey of Minneapolis has come out and used his big boy words to talk about how angry he is about ICE, and has essentially given stand-down orders to the Minneapolis Police Department, who are doing nothing to control any of this chaos as more and more people are getting hurt. And Governor Tim Walz has done effectively the same thing at the state level. So you have none of the local law enforcement from city level all the way up to state that are cooperating with the federal law enforcement at all. So this is all just Homeland Security running this thing and executing this thing. And it's not just ICE agents. You've got these other journalists that are in the area. I'm going to say independent journalist, alternative media here. Guys like Nick Sorter, Cam Higbee, I think is his name, that are running around trying to document what's going on, trying to record what's going on. And they are being harassed by these crowds. They are being attacked. Nick just had his Nick Sorter, because I guess we got more than one Nick in the equation here. Nick Sorter had his car broken into, his camera stolen the other day, and he was running down, being dragged by their cars. They were driving off. Some freaking Somali grabbed her camera, or his camera, it was a female, I think, that grabbed his camera, hopped in her vehicle and drove off while Cam's like trying to get it back. And the Minneapolis police come around and tell him, hey man, you got to get out of here. Don't do anything about her. Don't do anything to stop the crowd from harassing him. They look at him and go, hey bud, you got to kick rocks. You're causing too many problems. So I'm going to take this off because I'm creating some glare here. And then now we have this incident where a bunch of freaking Marxists marched into a church on Sunday morning, into City's Church, which is, I guess, a Baptist church in a big, beautiful, traditional-looking building, interrupted in the middle of the sermon, began shouting at all the people that were sitting there, talking about what horrible people they were, living their comfortable lives, many of them people of color, even though they're being shamed as comfortable white folk because they're Marxists. It's all about injecting these class struggles of all the different varieties into this to try to get people to feel bad, telling them that they need to be down at the Whipple Federal Building protesting with them to support their Latino and Somali brothers and sisters. Meanwhile, these people are just completely acting unhinged, and Don frickin' Lemon, of former, I believe CNN is where he used to work. Now he's an independent journalist, I guess, because I guess what else is he going to do? Goes up and starts talking to the pastor and talks to a couple other people, and he's clearly on the side of the people that just barged their way into this service and is trying to shame them. And I guess why this church was chosen is supposedly somehow this group got the information that one of the pastors, I guess, was also a local ICE director or had some involvement with the local ICE office. Sorry, excuse me. And that's why I don't even know if that's 100% true or not. And if it is true, so what? We're told that the authorities are supposed to enforce the law. Obviously, there have been examples where the legitimate authorities have used their authority to do evil. I do not think that is the case. There are many other Christians that agree with me, and there are many other people, probably even other Christians, I would say so-called, but I'm sure they would say the same thing about me, that think I'm horrible for saying what I said. So, and everyone's given their crap takes on the internet. So, but this has seemed to lit a bit of a fire under at least the online community, who have continued to pressure the Trump administration to take further action, whether that's surging even more federal agents into the area or invoking the freaking Insurrection Act, or doing something more, because it has felt like this freaking administration has just been sitting on their hands. They're just monitoring the situation. We're just watching. Anyways, I need to wrap this up. But yeah, so things are continuing to just increase and be more and more chaotic in Minnesota. And I guess this operation is supposed to take place over 30 days. So here in the first week of February, it's supposed to kind of be winding down. We'll see if that's going to happen. And most of them will probably move on elsewhere, but we'll see. I saw today that I guess Mayor Frey and Tim Walz were just served congressional subpoenas, I think. Don Lemon's supposedly going to get charged. We'll see. A lot of talk. We'll see what actually happens. I'm not a black pillar, but I am getting frustrated when it feels like the administration's not taking enough action. But in any case, we'll continue to monitor the situation ourselves here. I'm sure I will bring this up in some video sooner or later. Again, we'll see what's happened by this time next week. I kind of want to talk about Greenland at some point and what's going on with NATO and Europe and Canada. But I'm an American first and foremost, before any of those other nations. Christian first and foremost, but an American right after that. And I want to talk about the things going on in this nation. So, and anyways, I have rambled enough and ranted enough. So thank you guys very much for watching, and we will catch you next time.